Hi, welcome back to this series, 5 Easy Steps to Speak Spanish with Confidence. Today is the final step, step number 5, finding a conversation partner. Congratulations, you've made it through this series. I hope you're really enjoying it. Please, I want to encourage you to give us your comments, like this video, share it with your friends and family, but most importantly, send us a message and let us know what you think. We'd love to hear from you. So let's make this a two-way conversation, and we look forward to hearing your news soon. Today's lesson is all about finding a conversation partner. We'll talk about that in a minute, but just a quick review. As you recall, easy step number 1 was to create a Spanish journal. Easy step number 2 was to learn 10 new words per day. Easy step number 3 was how to find and enroll in a good conversational Spanish program. What I taught you last time was really geared towards helping you understand the importance of practicing and teaching you how and where you can practice and trying to make that a daily routine. Today I'm really going to elaborate on that. Outside of trying to find people that you can practice with just when you're out at the grocery store, at a restaurant, in public places. Today I want to really narrow in on teaching you how to find a conversation partner, somebody that you can really try and meet with daily or weekly to improve your conversational skills. So I'm going to teach you how to find a partner today, how to choose a good partner. Not everybody's going to make a good conversation partner, and then some different activities that you can do once you find that person. First, fluency. Let's talk about this word, because this is something that I think everybody thinks of when they want to learn Spanish. You know, hey, I want to learn how to speak Spanish fluently. So what does that exactly mean? Fluency comes from the Latin word fluere, which essentially just means to flow. It's like a river. So you see this river that we have in the background. Rivers flow because there's nothing impeding the water. There's the right amount of slope. There are no obstacles like rocks or anything, and the water can just kind of flow smoothly downstream. So the idea when it comes to learning a new language, of how to speak the language fluently, is you need to remove all the obstacles from your brain, from your mouth, from your ears, and that will allow you to speak the language fluently. Essentially what it means is that you have enough of the language capabilities that you can now think in the language. The primary obstacles that people have when it comes to learning a language comes from a couple of places, but especially in the early stages of language acquisition, people tend to take their first language and translate it into the new language. So if you're speaking English as your first language, naturally as you start speaking Spanish, you're going to be kind of thinking in your head, well, I want to say the table is big, so I'm going to translate la table, mesa, es big, grande. La mesa es grande. So those are the obstacles that are impeding you from fluency. There's really only one way to get over that. And in order to develop the talent to be able to think in Spanish, it's just a simple matter of repetition. Reviewing, repetition, doing it over and over and over again. Now this is a little complicated with a new language because there are so many words, there are so many sentence structures, there are so many grammatical combinations and rules and all this stuff you're kind of processing in your head when you're having a conversation with somebody. But it's simple. You just have to keep doing it. And that's why today we're going to talk about finding a conversation partner, someone that you can get together with frequently so that you can constantly practice the new language. Here's my conversation partner. So this is my good friend Juan Socrates that I met during my first study abroad experience in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Juan and I became really good friends, but I just wanted to kind of tell you a little bit about the circumstance. So I had enrolled in a language immersion program for the summer and lived in Buenos Aires. I was living with an Argentinian host family, and I was going to this really intensive Spanish school every single day. Now, I learned a whole lot in the school, but I really credit most of my success to learning the Spanish language to this gentleman that you see here. So what happened was, and this was a really cool thing about the school, and why if you ever get a chance to do immersion, you should definitely do it. But the school that I was studying at actually hosted kind of a party cocktail hour one day. Because in Argentina, there are a lot of people that are trying to learn how to speak English, and most of the exchange students in this program were coming from English-speaking countries, primarily the United States. So they realized that they could do this really cool thing where they would get everybody together, all of the students together, to come and practice their Spanish, but then almost all of the employees and our teachers at the school invited their local Argentine friends and family members that were studying English to come and have drinks with us. So we all met and we did kind of a little, round robin thing where we went around the room and introduced ourselves to each other. So I met a few different people, but Socrates and I really hit it off, and we had we really had a great conversation that night. We had this weird kind of mixture of Spanish and English. He would try and practice his English with me. I would try and practice my Spanish with him. Sometimes we'd switch. Sometimes we'd speak pure Spanish, and then we'd speak pure English. We'd kind of go back and forth. What I really liked about this is it was mutually beneficial. It was fun. It was one of the first real encounters I had with somebody outside of the Spanish classroom where I was engaged in a lengthy conversation. But another thing I really liked about this was that I was helping him with his English, and that really made me feel good to, see the look on his face when he was struggling with something or had a confusion, some type of confusion with something that I helped clarify, and you see it's this magical thing that happens on somebody's face where they just have this aha moment, you see the light bulb go off above their head. So we had such a good evening that night that we actually exchanged phone numbers, and we started meeting on an almost daily basis. So I was in school from 8 to 12, and I would meet him at the mall downtown, where we'd either have a coffee or we'd have lunch together, and we kind of continued that bilateral exchange of Spanish and English for a period of about a month. I really felt that helped me just immensely with my fluency, with my confidence, and it was just a lot of fun. To this date, he never misses a birthday, and I never miss one of his. We're still friends on Facebook. We exchange messages all the time. So another beautiful thing about finding a conversation partner like this is that you'll also tend to develop a unique type of friendship that will last you a lifetime. We met back in 2004. It's 2018 right now, so it's 14 years. We haven't seen each other. The last time I was in Argentina, I think, was in the year 2007. So we haven't even seen each other for about 10 years, but we're still in close contact with each other via Facebook. So you have to go out and try and find a conversation partner. If you're coming to classes here at the language school, we host 2 weekly language exchanges where we invite all of our students to come in and meet each other with the specific goal of helping our students find conversation partners. Now, what is learning Spanish all about? In my opinion, there's different aspects of language, but in my opinion, it's all about getting out there and talking to people. You have to sometimes, when it comes to learning a new language, you have to meet new people. This is part of the process. Now, you're also going to be interacting with people that speak a different language and are from a different culture. So, what this often indicates is that you're going to be putting yourself into some somewhat uncomfortable situations sometimes. It's okay. Just try and have fun with it. Don't take yourself too seriously. Once you can kind of get comfortable, meeting new people, learning how to speak Spanish then becomes all about making new friends and establishing new connections that last a lifetime. So I really want to encourage you, every time you hear Spanish, go ahead and stop what you're doing and introduce yourself. Hola, me llamo David. Estoy estudiando español. ¿Podemos practicar? You can do this everywhere you go. If you live in a city like Denver, there's people that speak Spanish everywhere. So just when you hear it, introduce yourself. Now, some good ideas, some good ways to find somebody that you can practice with. I've got 10 ways to find a Spanish speaker here. The obvious ones, just ask your friends and family members. Not if they speak Spanish, but ask them if they know somebody that speaks Spanish that they can introduce you to. Post something up on social media, if you use Facebook or Twitter or whatever, just say, hey, I'm looking for a Spanish conversation partner. Can anybody help me? Go to local restaurants, Mexican restaurants, Cuban restaurants, Peruvian restaurants. There's all different types of Spanish cuisine, so try and visit those types of restaurants, and you can at least probably practice with the staff. If not, find some other people that are dining there. Look for a culture center. Here in Denver, there are a number of culture centers and nonprofit organizations that kind of focus on the Spanish-speaking community, so there's a very good chance that wherever you're living, there would be something similar. And then you can also ask at the library. I know Denver Public Libraries are pretty good about hosting practices. I think they call them the Plaza, where you can go in and help people with their English, and in exchange they'll probably be able to help you out with your Spanish. Another good idea is look for ways to get involved with your public school systems. Many of the public school systems here in the United States have a ton of English language learners, and you can do things like volunteer to help out with classes. Sometimes you can go in and just do like a storybook time for some of the students, and then you'll start making connections with the students, their families, and then of course the staff that works at the school. My favorite thing that I did was when I was living in Argentina, I learned how to dance the tango, and later I learned how to dance salsa. And here in the United States, there are just a ton of places where you can go. I know of at least 10 different places here in the city of Denver that does salsa classes. Oftentimes the instructors are coming from places like Cuba or Puerto Rico or Mexico, some Spanish-speaking country, but you'll also meet some of the other students. And if you can kind of get into it and then you start going out to dance at these nightclubs, they'll just be filled with Spanish speakers that you can practice with. Another idea that I've had is you can try and sign up for a dating site like Match.com. This isn't something that I've ever done, but if you sign up for the site, and put your profile in Spanish, then hopefully you'll attract other Spanish speakers that are people that you can practice with. Work is a place that I think most of us spend the majority of our time these days. So, think about what you do for work and try and figure out if there's a multicultural employer in your area that you could essentially do the same type of job. It might mean switching industries, but for example, the construction industry and landscaping just have a ton of Spanish speakers. Hospitality and retail have a ton of Spanish speakers. And then if maybe you're in something like, sales or, some other type of function, look for a company that does business in Latin America or in Europe. If you're working for a 100% English-speaking company that is only focused on the United States and American marketplace, you might not get the chance to speak Spanish. So there's a good chance that what you do could be done at a company where there's a lot of Spanish speakers too. And then of course a really easy one that will absolutely guarantee you that you'll find a Spanish speaker is meetup.com. So just go to www.meetup.com, sign up for it, and then you can search for Spanish meetups in your area, and these will be groups where you can typically get together with people on a weekly basis and practice your Spanish skills. Now, I want to talk a little bit, if let's say you're going to start going to meetup.com and you go to these weekly meetups. They're great places, but I do want to kind of spend a little bit of time about some best practices and good rules of engagement. Because not everybody's going to make a good conversation partner. So this is something that, these are some skills or some characteristics of a good partner that you want to look for. They're going to be people that empathize with you. That, what I mean by that is they understand the process that you're going through. They understand that you're learning how to speak Spanish, that you don't speak it perfectly yet. So they're going to be able to encourage you, and they're going to be able to have conversations, hopefully tailor the conversations to your level of Spanish to keep them simple enough that they can build your confidence. Sometimes if, let me go to this next part. So I think the best options of conversation partners will include students of your native language. So try and find an English as a second language student that comes from a Spanish-speaking country. The reason why is then it becomes mutually beneficial. It becomes a reciprocal exchange where you're helping the person with their English and they're going to help you with their Spanish. They're also going through the process currently of learning how to speak a language, which you are as well. So you'll both be able to understand and keep the level of conversation simple enough. That's going to help each of you build each other's confidence. Your classmates, if you're in a Spanish class, you know, sometimes we don't think about this, but your own classmates could be really good people that you can practice with if, when you get together outside of class, you can make sure and spend the majority of the time trying to talk in the new language. When I was living in Argentina, one of my classmates, Nicolas, was from Los Angeles. We made really good friends with each other, and we frequently got together outside of class, but we would be speaking to each other in Spanish. We would try and avoid English. It was obviously easier for us to fall back on English, so I'm not going to say that we were perfect. We would oftentimes fall back on English as well, but then we'd recognize what we were doing and flip it back to Spanish. So don't think that it has to be a native Spanish speaker. It could be another Spanish student. A couple of other important things to point out here is I want you to make sure that it's somebody that you would get along with in the first place. You should have some things in common with each other. That, you know, if it's somebody that you just, you know, find boring or finds you boring, or you don't really have a whole lot in common, I mean, what are you going to talk about, you know? So you do want to try and find people that you share interests with. And of course, if you can find somebody that's just a great conversationalist that can keep the conversation moving, those are going to be good. I've got down here highlighted in red and crossed out family. You know your family better than I do, so this is on a case-by-case basis, but I have typically found that family members are not the most supportive people that can empathize with you and encourage you and have the patience to work through you. I often hear stories of my students coming in and saying, well, I tried to practice with my husband or my wife, but it just ends up leading to an argument. So you don't want to do that. You want to make it fun. You want to make it productive. If it leads to clashes, you know, it's a psychological thing. If you're too comfortable with somebody, like your husband or your wife or your son or your daughter or your parents or whoever it may be, it can be very easy to get frustrated with that person, or for that person to get frustrated with you, and then the fun stops. So, you know, if you have a very patient, supporting family member that speaks Spanish, by all means, choose that person. But keep in mind what I'm telling you right now. Might not be the best. Now, what should you do when you get together with this person? And sometimes it's important to talk about things that you should not do as well. Keep it about the conversation, you know, talk. Just keep the conversation going. If you make mistakes, so what? It's okay. If you're not speaking perfectly, that's fine too. Let's say you're a very beginner and you just had your very first class, go with the new vocabulary, written down on a piece of paper and try and think about, different things you can say, even if you're just using 1 or 2 words at a time, that's okay. And also, especially if you're doing kind of an exchange with somebody and you're helping an ESL student learn English, make sure that you're understanding of that person and listen. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Sometimes it's much better just to sit back and listen to what the person is telling you. Try and repeat what you're hearing from the person to show that you're paying attention and also to make sure that you're fully understanding what you're hearing. Really important. If you're helping somebody and you might want to let the person that's helping you know as well, you don't have to correct everything, You're going to make a lot of mistakes. The person that you're helping is going to make a lot of mistakes. And if you get into this little habit of trying to correct everything and demanding that person, speaks the language perfectly, it's going to take away all that confidence. People are going to mispronounce things, and that's okay, just as long as you're trying to understand. People are going to make grammar mistakes. They're going to use the wrong verb conjugation. So think about it, instead of saying, I like pizza, maybe you say, me like pizza. That's okay. You still understood the idea that the person was trying to communicate. This is just so important for you to know how to work with a conversation partner, so you're building confidence, you're encouraging, and as well for your partner to know how to work with you. Sometimes you don't know what to say, and that's okay, Not everybody's a great conversationalist, and oftentimes when you're learning your new language, you're going to be nervous. You're going to get to, awkward silences. So that's why I wrote this book, Let's Start Talking. It's filled with over 500 conversation starters. So go on to Amazon.com, just type in Let's Start Talking. It'll be one of the first results that you see. This is what it looks like. It's a great book filled with conversation starters, and it's just for this exact purpose. So when you find that conversation partner that you can go out to meet with on a weekly basis or on a daily basis, and you meet for drinks, pull this book out, open it up. It's got the conversation starters side by side in both English and Spanish, the literal exact same questions. You can use that to guide a conversation, and then you'll see once you get rolling, it'll turn into other you don't have to follow the questions as they are. But then you come to another kind of dull moment in the conversation or an awkward silence, you open the book back up and you go with the next question. It's really going to help you out with these conversations and get you that practice. Thank you so much. This has been an absolute pleasure to work with you here through this series, 5 Easy Steps to Speak Spanish with Confidence. Please give us a comment on our videos, like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel, share these videos with other people that are trying to learn Spanish, and definitely get in contact with us. If you have any questions, we can be reached 303-997-9207, and we are in Denver, Colorado, so if you're in Denver, come and visit us. Ciao!